Everyone, I hope you all are doing well, and as usual, I thank you all for joining me here. I'm your host, Danielle Speaks TV. Wagwan, everybody. So guess what? No, we have some news, and social media seem to be heating up over the UK Privy Council announcing on their website that they will have a decision for Vybz Kartel and his co-accused in regards to the murder of Clive Lizard Williams. So we know that on February 14th and the 15th, they had the hearing in the Privy Council. Now, what I want to do is read the case summary, basically the issues and the facts of the case, right? There was about 9,000 documents, and for them to have come to a decision in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the hearing, you can tell that something is going down, and the Jamaica justice system is gonna have to pay the consequences for their dire mistake. Now, I want to read directly from this because this is going to give you an understanding of exactly how the Privy Council views the case, right? And it is noted as facts. So let me start from the top because we're not making any mistakes here. So, the issue. On the 13th of March 2014, the appellants were convicted of the murder of Clive Lizard Williams. The issue in this appeal is whether their convictions are safe in light of the following grounds of challenge. Number one, should the trial judge have excluded the telecommunications evidence relied on by the prosecution? Number two, how should the judge have handled the allegations that there were attempts to bribe members of the jury during the trial? Should the jury have been discharged? Number three, was the judge wrong to invite the jury to reach a verdict late in the day given the special circumstances of the case? Now, highlighted is the facts of the case. After a trial lasting 64 days before the trial judge and jury in the Home Circuit Court in Kingston, Jamaica, the appellants were convicted of Mr. Williams' murder. The prosecution's case was that the appellants murdered Mr. Williams on August 16, 2011, after he failed to return two unlicensed firearms which the second appellant, Mr. Palmer, had given him for safekeeping. Mr. Williams was not seen or heard from after that date, and his body has never been found. The police took the appellants into custody on September 30th, 2011, and seized their cellular telephones. The prosecution relied on evidence derived from these phones, which was taken from a copy of a CD-ROM provided by Digicel, which is a telecommunications provider in Jamaica, in response to a police request. Now, at the trial, the appellants challenged the admissibility of this telecommunications evidence. They argued that the police requests to Digicel and Digicel's provision of data to the police were carried out in breach of the Interception of Communications Act. Further, the evidence had been obtained in breach of the fundamental rights to the protection of privacy of communication guaranteed by the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms contained in the Jamaican Constitution. However, the trial judge ruled the telecommunications evidence was admissible. During the trial, the judge became aware of an allegation that a juror had attempted to bribe others by offering 500,000 Jamaican dollars for a particular outcome. After investigating the allegations and considering it with counsel for both the prosecution and the defense, the judge decided that the trial should proceed. He did not discharge the jury or the particular juror said to have offered bribes. The judge finished his summing up at 3:42 p.m. on the 13th of March 2014. The jury returned at 5:35 when the forewoman told the court that the jury had not reached a unanimous verdict. The judge sent the jury out again, and at 6:08 p.m., the jury returned and by a majority of 10-1, convicted the appellants of the murder of Mr. Williams. The Court of Appeal dismissed the appellant's appeal against their conviction. The appellants now appeal to His Majesty Council. Yes, so I was expecting this to take weeks. And the reason why I was expecting this to take weeks is because there are about 9,000 pages of documents. There's no way that they went through all 9,000 pages of the document. Feels like they already knew how they were going to view this case, and you could hear it from when they were in the Privy Council. You could hear the lords. They were like, "You must discharge that juror." Lady Simla is like, "But it is for bribes. 500,000, well, not for bribes." I was like, "Yes, for bribes."
A corrupt juror would not only have a vote, but he'd have the opportunity to influence the other members of the jury.
Well, he might still seek to influence the other members of the jury, but he wouldn't. Sorry?
In deliberation.
In deliberation. He can still say what he likes in deliberation. He can still draw attention to a good point, let us say. That can still happen. He's not prevented from doing so. He may well be able to persuade one of the other jurors, not by offering money.
Well, by offering money.
No.
But he may.
No, he may be able to persuade one of the other jurors in deliberation. Look, forget about my bribe. These people are innocent because of point X. He's still entitled to do that.
Well, he's entitled to do that, but he's not entitled to persuade them by offering them bribes.
Certainly
and that is an ongoing risk.
That is, my lady,
You understand? Lady Simla, she was very theatric with that part. So I believe that the Jamaica justice system, and I apologize, fucked themselves right here. They were so quick to come up with a conviction, which it was 64 days, which is one of the longest trials in Jamaica's history. And the jury had an answer in 2 to 3 hours. It's crazy. And if the Jamaica, and this is a valuable lesson for the Jamaica justice system, to believe that you could have somebody bribed on the jury and still allow them to be on the panel, and not only that, to submit a vote, which was, of course, not guilty for Vybz Kartel. Come on. He was bribing people around here.
My lords, I submit he wouldn't necessarily have to discharge the jury, even if, let us say, the individual juror had said, "Oh, I own up. I did try to bribe them." My lords, it all goes back to the single point. There's a different point that Lord Briggs makes, which is about the introduction of the rest of the jury, but there's just this one point. Supposing the judge is entirely satisfied that 10 jurors can perform their duty properly, I'm sure they're able to do it, but he knows that one is very unlikely to do so. Supposing that is the position, the question is, as a matter of law, must he discharge the jury? That is the question. And if the answer to that is yes, he must, then I accept I'm in difficulties. If the answer is no, he doesn't have to, if the prosecution is content to take the risk that this one juror is just going to vote against the prosecution, come what may.
His vote was for Kartel, the only vote. And he was there. No, what the prosecution is trying to say is like, oh God, just one person. It would be a loss to us anyways. They're just gonna vote against us anyways. So whatever, we just let it go through anyways. Yeah.
In a criminal trial, and you could hardly have a more serious trial than this, where you have 5 people accused of murder. Clearly there's a public interest in a true verdict being returned. The implication of what you're saying seems to be that the judge really has no responsibility in that regard. He's entitled, if the prosecution are willing to run the risk of the jury being nobbled by the corrupt member of a jury. That's a matter for them, and he can go along with that.
My lords, he has to be satisfied that the other 10 won't be nobbled, or it's very unlikely they'll be nobbled. I'd accept that. But
so stupid. Oh, Daisy was going to vote against us anyway, so it's okay. Just let him stay there. Let's let him stay. In the meanwhile, you don't know whether his decision for Vybz Kartel to be freed, not guilty, had any influence on the other jurors, then thinking he must be guilty.
Have said balance.
So the problem that you're faced is a system that doesn't allow a jury of 10.
That's exactly the problem. The whole problem.
An unfair trial, it might be put against you, is allowed because the rules don't allow a jury to go around to 10. Is that right?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm far from saying that. As long as the trial is fair.
You understand? And that is why in the UK Privy Council they will say, we don't know. We don't know. Because you don't know what the jurors were thinking. We have no idea. This could have actually influenced their thoughts. But that is not how the prosecution was looking at it. They were looking at it as he's just going to vote against us anyway, so whatever. And then they realized, they forgot that Vybz Kartel has money. They forgot. They forgot that Vybz Kartel can afford lawyers. They absolutely forgot it. And the Privy Council was just really stuck on, you had a bribed juror who was allowed in the voting process. Vybz Kartel and one man run one corner around this, where did murder somebody and now, you know, them say him guilty and that's it forever. This man has money. This man can fight all the way to the top, which he has. And that is the mistake that the Jamaican justice system made, not remembering that Vybz Kartel has money.
The prosecution's approach is essentially of saying you can have a jury with one biased member and it's still a lawful jury is inconsistent with the statutory scheme on the basis that they no longer should properly be a member of the jury because they are bent, again to use that language. In those circumstances, the jury ceases, we would submit, to be properly constituted.
Had Kane been dismissed, it would have necessitated a restart of the trial, a prospect the prosecution, represented by King's counsel Peter Knox, deemed challenging given the trial's already lengthy duration. Knox contended that there was minimal risk of bias influencing the verdict, citing overwhelming evidence against the appellants.
One or two passages. The prosecution evidence fell into 5 categories. First, there was Child's evidence. In short, he goes along with the deceased, he's taken along with the deceased in the car with Campbell at the front, driven along, and then he says, because they're being summoned because the guns have gone missing, and then he witnesses the killing by the 4 appellants at the relevant premises, those premises being owned by Mr. Palmer. After that, he returns and he takes Mr. Palmer to hospital. After that, he is offered, they try to get him, Chow, to leave the country along with them a few days after. That's the trust of his evidence. The second category was the deceased's girlfriend's evidence, to the effect that the deceased was never seen after the 16th of August 2011, the inference being he was obviously killed on that day, as Chow said. The third category was the evidence of the police investigations after the killing. The entire interior of the house where the killing took place was burnt on the 27th of August, about 2 weeks later.
Do you understand? He can fight. He can fight. And that is what he has done. Now, in my opinion, this, if he's freed, it's not because they're freeing a murderer or anything like that. It's a punishment for the Jamaica justice system. This is a collective punishment for the Jamaica justice system and everyone who was involved in this case. Because I sincerely believe that Vybz Kartel was involved in the killing of Lizard, but of course, most of the evidence is circumstantial. Let me just big up Isaac Buchanan. You see, the strongest, all right, apart from Mr. Cho, right? The strongest evidence comes from the telecommunications evidence that was presented in the trial in Jamaica. Isaac Buchanan is just trying his best to just get that thrown out. Because really, it would then be Mr. Cho's testimony alone. One eyewitness, my goodness. Isaac, just big up yourself, you know. You're a trying lie. I'm telling you about Isaac. You see, when that juror was charged, I know Isaac was round there jumping up and down. Yes! Yes, Privy Council! Here we come! Here we come, Privy Council! Here we come! As soon as he saw the headline in the newspaper that Kane Livingston, he was charged, he was found guilty for bribing $500,000. He was trying to pervert the course of justice. And Isaac was like, yes! Vybz Kartel will be free! Vybz Kartel will be free! He will be free! I'm gonna say, what you mean? Ken? You see why should I dismiss Ken? Think about it, you know, logically. Do you guys see why you should have dismissed Kane? Who did I get it yet, right? Who get it? Who get it? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you get it? They should have discharged him. They literally did this to themselves. Because you have a bribe juror out there. Alright? And Isaac Buchanan run a one part. I say, yes, on the continue with the trial, man. Continue with the trial. In my head, I say, continue with this trial. Continue, man. Continue. Continue. Because I will only bumble like out this right now. So please continue with this trial. You understand? Bam, 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 bam. Them continue with the trial. Bam, bam, bam. UK Privy Council for crew in the door. That juror, you see that one juror that they should have dismissed is gonna cause Vybz Kartel to be free. So you see that one juror be like, oh my God, it's just one vote against the prosecution. It's just one vote against the prosecution. One vote. No fool. Privy Council. Hey, we're not gonna learn. This is a valuable lesson for the Jamaica justice system. We go for the cell.